Namaskar. Welcome to this module on non-handicapping built environment for hospitals. Among the various institutions and buildings that receive members of the public, hospitals welcome the greatest number of people with disabilities. These disabled people, due to their health problems, are vulnerable, weak, sometimes have reduced mobility and are often psychologically distressed. The primary purpose of hospitals is to welcome these people and to help them to get well. In order to fulfill this role effectively, a role accomplished by the various doctors and the care teams, it must be possible to conduct it in a specially adapted environment. Accessibility of doctors, offices, clinics and other healthcare providers is essential in providing medical care to people with disabilities. Due to barriers, individuals with disabilities are less likely to get routine preventive medical care than people without disabilities. Medical care providers are required to provide disabled individuals full and equal access to their healthcare services and facilities. All the changes will help to improve the quality of life just about for everybody. Accessible design may just be one of the most responsible thing we can do. The aim is to create hospital environments accessible to all people regardless of age, disability or other factors. Physical disabilities. The disability is not a phenomenon but a phase. Everyone at one point or other passes through such phases. The elderly, ill, pregnant, obese, children, persons with fracture or with luggage could be described as passing through a phase of disability. So, people are affected by barriers. Who are the people who are affected by barriers? The wheelchair users, people with limited walking, movement abilities, people with visual impairment or low vision, people with hearing impairment, elderly and infirm persons, pregnant ladies, children, people with temporary disabilities. Types of disabilities. Non-ambulatory impairments that regardless of the cause or manifestation, for all practical purposes confine individuals to wheelchairs. Semi-ambulatory impairments that cause individuals to walk with difficulty or insecurely. Individuals using braces or crutches, amputees, arthritics, spastics, and those with pulmonary and cardiac illnesses may be semi-ambulatory. Total blindness or impairments affecting sight to the extent that individual functions in public areas is insecure or exposed to danger. Deafness or hearing handicaps that might make an individual insecure in public areas because he is unable to communicate or hear warning signals. Mobility devices recommendations. Adequate space should be allocated for persons using mobility devices, that is wheelchairs, crutches and walkers, as well as those walking with the assistance of other persons. The range of reach, forward and side, with or without obstruction of a person in a wheelchair should be taken into consideration. Attention should be given to dimensions of wheelchairs used locally. Standard size of wheelchair has been taken as 1050 mm into 750 mm as per the Bureau of Indian Standards. So, we have a side reach over obstruction and space allowance for crutches, which you see in the diagrams which we are showing with these presentations. Locking and opening controls of windows, doors, which should not be more than 1400 mm from the finished floor level, which could be used by one hand. Switches and electric lights and powers, as well as door handles and other fixtures and fittings should be between 900 and 1200 mm from the finished floor levels for people on wheelchairs. Power points for general purpose should be fixed between 400 to 500 mm from the finished floor level. Range of reach. A wheelchair user's movement pivots around his or her shoulders. Therefore, the range of reach is limited, approximately 630 mm for an adult male, while sitting in a wheelchair, the height of the eyes from the floor is about 1190 mm for an adult male. A wheelchair has a footplate and leg rest attached in front of the seat. Footplate extends about 350 mm in front of the knee. Manually operated equipment must be designed to be easily accessible from a wheelchair. Make sure that the coin slots of vending machines etc. are located no higher than 1200 mm. Allow a space at least 350 mm deep and 700 mm high under the counter, stands etc. Persons with impaired walking, persons in this category who use walking aids such as crutches or canes, who are amputees, who have chest ailments or heart disease. The persons in this category include those who can not walk without a cane and those who have some trouble in upper or lower limbs, although they can walk unassisted. Design requirements. Width of the passage for crutch users minimum 900 mm. Finishes of floor surface for non-slip material, installation of handrail to support the body weight at a crucial phases, that is the staircases, ramp, toilet, passage with change of level of 800 to 850 mm. Extension of handrail on the flat landing at the top and bottom of the stairs 300 mm to prevent slipping off the cane or couch from the side of the stairs or ramps. 200 mm high lip on the exposed edge is required. Persons with impaired vision. Persons in this category are totally blind or with impaired vision. Visually impaired persons make use of other senses such as hearing or touch to compensate for the lack of vision. It is necessary to give instructions accessible through the sense of touch, hands, fingers or legs. While walking with a white cane, to spot their feet near the tip of the cane, the persons may bump his or her head or shoulder against protruding objects. Persons with limited vision may be able to discriminate between dark and bright shades and difference in primary colors. Design requirements. The use of guiding blocks for persons with impaired vision to guide them within the buildings and facilities and outside the building refer details of guiding warning blocks given to you in the reference material, installation of information board in braille, installation of audible signages announcements, removal of any protruding objects and sufficient walking space for safe walking. For persons with limited vision, use of contrasting color arrangements. Persons with impaired hearing. Persons in this category are totally deaf or have difficulty in hearing. They use their sight to gather information in public places. Design requirements. The provision of information board in an easy, understandable manner, provision of illuminated signages, layout diagrams to help the persons easily reach the desired place, site planning. To accommodate the handicapped and elderly people, each building and its site should be planned and designed as an integral unit from the very beginning of the design process. Walks and paths. Walks should be smooth, hard level surface suitable for walking and wheeling. Irregular surfaces or cobblestones, coarsely exposed aggregate concrete, bricks etc. often cause bumpy rides. The minimum walkway width would be 1200 mm, and for moderate two-way traffic it should be 1650 mm to 1800 mm. The longitudinal walk gradient should be 3 to 5%, 30 mm to 50 mm in 1 meter. When the walks exceed 60 meter in length, it is desirable to provide rest area adjacent to a walk at convenient intervals with space for bench seats. For comfort, the seat should be between 350 mm to 425 mm high, but not over 450 mm. Texture change in walkways adjacent to seating will be desirable for blind persons. Avoid grates and manholes in walks. If grates cannot be avoided, then bearing bar should be perpendicular to the travel path and no opening between bearing bars greater than 12 mm in width may be allowed. Levels and grooves. The casters on a wheelchair are about 180 mm in diameter. Therefore, a wheelchair can only get over a small level difference. Use a method that can reduce the height of level difference in addition to methods shown in the diagram here. It can be difficult to move a wheelchair if the caster is caught in a groove. It is desirable that there is no difference in level. If a difference is unavoidable, limit it to 200 mm or less. Round off or bevel at the edge. To prevent a wheelchair from getting its casters caught in a drainage ditch or other covers, install gratings with narrow slots in the direction of movement. Treat the grating with non-slip finish. Reduce the gap between the elevator floor and landing. Walkways. Walkway should be constructed with a non-slip material and different from rest of the area. The walkway should not cross vehicular traffic. The manhole, tree or any other obstructions in the walkway should be avoided. Guiding block at the starting of the walkway and finishing of the walkway should be provided. Guiding block can be of red checkered tile, smooth rubble finish. So, we could have tiles of any other material with a different texture as compared to the rest of the area, as shown in the diagram which we are showing you with this presentation. Parking. For parking of vehicles of handicapped people, the following provisions should be made. Surface parking of 2 car spaces shall be provided near the entrance for the physically handicapped person with maximum travel distance of 30 meters from the building. The width of the parking bay shall be minimum 3.6 meters. The information stating that the space is reserved for wheelchair users should be conspicuously displayed. Guiding floor material shall be provided or a device which guides visually impaired persons with audible signals or other devices which serves the same purpose shall be provided. Approach to the plinth level. Every building should have at least one entrance accessible to the handicapped and shall be indicated by proper signages. The entrance shall be approached through a ramp together with a stepped entry. Ramped approach. Ramp shall be finished with non-slip material to enter the building. Minimum width of the ramp shall be 1800 mm with maximum gradient of 1:12. Length of the ramp shall not exceed 9 meters, having double handrail at the height of 800 and 900 mm both sides, extending 300 mm beyond the top and the bottom of the ramp. Minimum gap from the adjacent wall to the handrail shall be 50 mm. When climbing a ramp in a wheelchair, the upper limbs must bear the burden of propelling the body up to the ramp. When descending a ramp, the wheelchair, especially on steep ramps, there is a possibility of the wheelchair running out of control because the user must manually control the speed. Make sure that the gradient of ramp is moderate rise of 10 mm for each 120 mm of travel. Provide a flat surface of 1500 mm or more in length at the top and bottom of the ramp for wheelchair to pause and prevent it from going out of control, as explained in the diagrams which we are showing you on the slides. Entrance landing. Entrance landing shall be provided adjacent to the ramp with a minimum dimension of 1800 into 1200 mm. The entrance landing that adjoin the top end of a slope shall be provided with floor materials to attract the attention of visually impaired person. Limited to colored floor material whose color and brightness is conspicuously different from that of the surrounding floor material, or materials that emit different sound to guide visually impaired persons, hereafter referred to as guiding floor material. Finishes shall have a non-slip surface with the texture transferable by a wheelchair. Curbs wherever provided should blend to a common level, as shown in the diagrams which we are showing with the slides enclosed. Corridors. The corridor connecting the entrance exit for handicapped leading directly outdoors to a place where information concerning the overall use of specified building can be provided to visually impaired persons either by a person or by signs shall be provided as follows. Guiding floor materials shall be provided or devices that emit sound to guide visually impaired persons. The minimum width shall be 1500 mm. In case there is a difference of levels, slopeways shall be provided with a slope of 1:12 as shown in the diagrams which we are showing on the slides. Required width for passage of wheelchairs. The wheelchair body itself is about 650 mm wide. Allowing for the use of hands and arms outside the wheelchair, the passage must be as wide as 900 mm or more. Locations such as entrances and exits can be 900 mm wide. However, a continuous passage, that is a corridor, must be at least 900 mm to allow for a slight side to side movement of wheelchair as it travels, as shown in the diagrams, the turning circle of a wheelchair. So, toilets. We are showing you some examples of the toilets, the differently abled people's toilet or the handicapped person's toilet. So, the first toilet is the type A which we have shown you. Now, this is the second toilet which is the type 2 toilet. So, please see the subtle differences in both these drawings. So, now what do we do for patient rooms? The mounting of toilets in all public and patients' bathrooms is within the recommended areas. All acute care and critical care adult patients' room should be built in ceiling tracks to accommodate lift devices for patients with disabilities. Patient phones have large numbers on their dial pad and volume controls to help people with visual or hearing impairments. Bathroom doors in acute care patient rooms swing in both directions to enhance emergency access and allow people in wheelchairs to enter and leave more easily. They also have a 5 feet diameter turning radius to allow patients in wheelchairs to maneuver inside the room. In all patient rooms and bathrooms, handrails are provided between the patient bed and bathroom, around the toilet and inside the shower, so that patients can lift themselves up and ease themselves down. Showers have a fold down seats for patients who cannot or prefer not to stand and have no raised border on the floor to ease patient access. Pivoting arms on patient recliner chairs in acute care and critical care rooms can be lifted up to allow better access to the patient. Accessible examination rooms. The features that make this possible are an accessible route to and through the room, an entry door with adequate clear width, maneuvering, clearance and accessible hardware, appropriate models and placement of accessible examination equipment, adequate clear floor space inside the room for site transfer and use of lift equipment. Signages. The main purpose of signs should be to provide a clear designation of places, warnings and routing information. A person in a wheelchair is less than 1200 mm high. A person who is partially sighted needs contrasting texture along side walkways and audible signs for dangerous areas. Signs should be useful to everyone, easily seen from eye level, readable by moving the fingers and well lighted for night time identification. Signs shall indicate the direction and name of the accessible facility and incorporate the symbol of access. The size, type and layout of lettering on signs shall be clear and legible. So, now we are presenting a case study of a blind school, which is the Blind Relief Association School in New Delhi. So, this was established in the year 1944. So, this is a premier non-governmental organization which is serving the visually impaired. Over the last 69 years of its existence, the association has built a complex of services managed by professional and skilled staff. In its green campus located prominently in the heart of the national capital of New Delhi, where a Diwali Mela is held every year and a lot of people go there. The association is providing quality school education and conducting training programs to prepare teachers for the visually impaired, running a range of vocational training courses in light engineering and other industrial trades, imparting training in diverse skills like bookbinding and papercraft, relaxation, massage, etc., besides conducting computer literacy training programs for the visually challenged. So, the project details are given in the slide here: the site area, the ground coverage, the built up area, the FAR, the year of completion, the climate and the location. So, in this diagram we see the phases of the project and how the different colors show the different building blocks. The movements, the students are guided into the site with the help of tactile paving which starts right at the entrance. There is no separate pedestrian track and the same pathway is being used by vehicles as well as the students. The guard at the entrance has to keep a watch to move students when the vehicle approaches. This is an example of insensitive design. Corridors inside the building do not receive direct sunlight. The flooring or the walls do not have tactile landmarks or trails to guide the students. Identifying the classroom is a problem due to lack of braille nameplates. So, this is the existing tile pattern and the actual movement, and this is the tactile tiles right from the entrance of the building. So, qualitative analysis, vocational workshops have open plan where storage acts as partitions. Space is a lot tight relative to the number of trainings. The dining hall has few structural columns with the base of a freestanding in the hall. It is not good for students. Classrooms have small group learning based layout. Each classroom has a maximum of 1:10 teacher student ratio or even less than that in most cases. The class layout as well as the teaching methodology is flexible. Glare is completely avoided in the classroom as it may cause disturbance for students who are partially blind. Even storage area is provided for storing large braille books. Points to be noted are: movement is kept simple but not sensory enough. Movement in the corridors or outside is simple but locating anything is difficult. Large play areas do not work as well as students lose their sense of orientation and feel lost. Freestanding structures should be avoided. They pose a threat to students and hinder their navigation. separation of vocational and school block is the right thing to be done so that small children don't hurt themselves. Thank you. I hope you've understood the concepts of non-handicapping built environments in hospitals. This is a mandatory provision in all public buildings. So, it has to be done for all building types, but specially for healthcare buildings, as we had said in the introduction to this module. Thank you.